Check, check,
In the
check,
meantime,
check,
I will check.
check, 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 check. All right, should be good. Should be good. Yeah. Where's the? There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Very good. Play something.
Hey, that's where the party's at? Aw, man, look at this big line here, man. There must be 1,000 people out here. So I'm going to the front.
So go. Can you go to the thing so we can see the comments? So we're good already, yeah? Okay, awesome. Okay, what is up, guys? We no, turn this on.
There you go.
There you go. Should be good now.
Hey, Thibaut, my brother, can you hear us loud and clear?
What's up, guys? We're back with another NoFace Academy demo drop here with Marcus Martinez. We, as you guys know, are now shifting to YouTube fully so we can get a better idea of, so you guys can hear a better quality from all the demos and things like that, and slowly merging everything to YouTube, which is going to be better for you guys. Plus, I think now that we are on YouTube, you guys can submit remixes, which is going to be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be really exciting. And we're going to just give you guys a couple of updates on what we're doing before we get started, and just wait for a couple of people to come in. What's up, Bad Santa? We see you, brother.
Murky Bone Waters in the house too.
What's
up,
up,
brother?
And let us know if the quality is good. We are going to slowly switch to 2 microphones eventually, so we don't have to sit here too close to one another, of course. Basically, we are going ham on the NoFace Academy content for you guys to, learn more things. And also at the same time, we are launching a podcast in October, which is going to be dedicated to production, pure production only, and it's going to be super exciting. We're going to bring special guests that are going to go over their tracks. They're going to go over your tracks. So with that being said, why don't we dive into some of the demo drops, and today maybe we'll maybe talk about it even more in depth than just simply listening to the tracks, and kind of give a more in-depth feedback on some of the records that you guys submitted. And then the first one, we got Victor here, artist name Chair, with Give Me That Fat Beat. So let's check it out.
Excuse me. Hey, that's where the party's at? Aw, man, look at this big line here, man. There must be 1,000. Excuse me. Hey, that's where the party's at? Aw, man, look at this big line here, man. There must be 1,000 people out here. So I'm going to the front. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Hey, come on, buddy. Come on. You're stepping all over my shoes here. Come on, stop it. Stop pushing.
So ride me, baby.
Know what this party started, right? Know what this party started, right? Come on. Know what this party started, right? Know what this party started, right? Now quickly. Give me a big beat. Give me a big beat. Like this. Like this. A big beat. Give me a big beat. Like this.
Turn it to yeah, about that. Wow, fucking great record. I might be my one might be my favorite one for Victor actually. Really fucking good. I think that so what we'll do is we're gonna basically I'll give my 5 cents and then Marcus can give us 5 cents. I think that's gonna be the best way to do it. So I would say I think that element wise and arrangement, everything is really great. Really great. So you don't need to add any kind of that stuff. What I would probably focus on mainly is that what I hear is probably the what's it called? The bussing of your drums. Basically, yeah, we have to probably turn that thing off because it's not connected through there. Yeah. So basically, what I would do is I would bust your kick and the bass, and it sounds like it could be fattened up a little bit. I would have to hear it clearly in the mix essentially, but the bass is great and the kick is great, but it sounds like the bass needs to be compressed together with the kick a bit more to make it a little bit fatter. Then the same thing goes for your percussions. You have good grooves and good percussions, but they need to be fattened up altogether. So what I like to do personally is I like to group my snares and my hats separately, my kick and my bass separately, and then you can put your snares and your hats in another group so you can kind of mold them together. And that way you're kind of balancing out your percussions. And one thing that I like to do when I'm mixing is I like to take a look at my peaks of my low end and my percussions only. So I solo my kick and the bass and the percussions. And on the spectrums on the spectrum analyzer, you need to make sure that your highs and your lows are more or less on the same level. And I'm pretty sure that if I was to put this on the spectrum analyzer, you're gonna see kind of like a slope kind of going down more than it being balanced essentially. And then the other thing that I would say is that second drop, it's the right direction. It's the right direction, but I think that maybe it was going a bit too long without the perks kicking in. And by the way, I really love that one part where you have that like fill. It comes in the first half of the drop. That fill is really good, and I think I'm really glad that you put that fill in because you wouldn't have that impact on the second drop without that like the fill I'm talking about is here.
Pump up the bass. Give me a big beat.
Yeah, that hit is great. And the thing is, I'm learning right now. I'm doing a lot of tech house myself, so I'm actually learning a lot on how to like emphasize those small little shots. And sometimes rhythmically, like they're so important for grooves because a lot of guys tend to try and find new elements or leads or percussive loops or stuff like that. But sometimes if you want to create an insane dynamic impact, you basically put a shot there and maybe, you know, even if you're swapping it for some kind of like a bass stab or whatever, it just pop and it goes in, you know, it creates an immense amount of dynamics. So that's my take on it, but I'll let Marcus take over on this one.
Yeah, Victor, really nice track. I'm glad that you're submitting frequently, periodically, this is one of your best tracks. I agree with Max. In addition to his comments, I only have two more comments, which is you have a really nice lead, the tan 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 tan, which sounds like a metallic lead, tan 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 tan. So in this case, I noticed you have three drops, okay, and during each drop you need to have some variations. So for example, for the first drop, I would do something like a only one shot with that sound. Instead of taka taka taka, I would go ta ta ta. In that way, for the second drop, now you fully explore it. Ta 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 ta. And also, this track, I'm gonna give you a track for reference. It's a different style, of course, but in terms of arrangement, it's really similar to yours because that track has three drops. First one, nice one. Second one, a bit harder. And the third one feels like an outro drop. It's blue clair, peanut butter. Okay, it's a bit different to your style, but in terms of arrangement, it's almost the same as your track. So study that track and try to apply some of these techniques, okay? But overall, great track, Victor.
I honestly think that if this track is properly made, it's easily, we can easily probably make it in a release. I think this is a sick record.
Yeah,
honestly.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know if, like if you talk to Victor much or whatever, but you guys can link up because this is your best record, and I
Yeah.
think that we can make this into a release.
Yeah.
Because and the way, my new way of deciding if it's a release or not is simply by, like, would I play this record, and I would play this record.
Yeah, me too.
So, Victor, maybe you can talk to Marcus, and you guys can talk about finessing it and stuff. And then once you guys fix it up, maybe we can throw it in one of our sets to test it out and slowly kind of tweak it, because I think it's special. You got those vocals in there, not vocals, but like the talking and stuff. It's a really cool record, really great record, dude, really great.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Willest, he's saying, hey guys, been working on this collab with Madlat. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, Madlat and Willest, no one else.
Yeah, and he says with Matt.
With Matt.
You make me feel like I'm losing control. I've never been so high, and just so I don't want no one
Yeah, really great record, really awesome record. Willis and Mad Lad. Hope Mad Lad is all right. We haven't been able to locate him for a while, but okay. So here's first of all, really sick record. So here's my input. I would put. I like how you guys went drum and bass on the second drop. What I would do is I'd probably make that shorter and do a flip back to the original drop, because what you guys tried to do there is you guys went for another style flip on the at the end, which is cool, great experimental work, but I would probably keep a bit of consistency. So that's basically the main thing. And then the other thing that I was gonna say is that, like, you guys need to take a look at some drum and bass drums, because the drum work here, your elements are phenomenal. They're really great, but the drum work is not correct. So on the drum, if you guys listen to drum and bass, they don't have as much sub, like those wobbles. They are so massive, and what you guys did there is you guys obviously did a short kick. And it kind of swallows up the mix, and there's no, because drum and bass is like drum and bass, not bass only, right? So you got to get those big ass kicks that are not really necessarily bassy, but they're knocky, right? They're like bah, like they're, if you want to learn how to make really proper drum and bass kind of shit, I would even look at Prodigy stuff. Like Prodigy drum work is phenomenal for that kind of stuff. So you rarely hear the Prodigy bass lines, that you never hear the woo, right? You have to distort those wobbles or distort the low end. I'd probably shave that wobble at like maybe even 60 hertz, depending on how much low end you're going to be getting from that kick drum. And then usually what they do is they do like a sub on the one where it's like pop, you know what I mean? So those, because bass, look, a lot of guys sometimes they'll make a bass line and they're like, oh, we need to make the bass line fat on the low end, but it doesn't fit the mix. If you listen to hip hop music, a lot of times you get like a short kick, snares, you know what I mean? And the bass line could be boom, boo-doo-doo, boo-doo-doo-doo, but the bass line is not actually carrying the low end at all. So what you want to do is you're going to have to balance your drums with your low end here, because your guys' low end sounds fat, but it's not balanced enough with the percussions, and the percussions need to be knocking. Like I need to be hearing like knocking ass percussions, and you can hear the lack of dynamic as soon as the drop comes in. So really work your drums on that. The drum work for drum and bass is a completely different game from everything else, and even from rhythm. I know what's it called? Kevin is talking about it here. But I love all the elements. They're phenomenal. Vocals fit real great. The arrangement is good, other than that flip that I was talking about at the end. And then Marcus can.
Well, I have two comments, my friends. Well, first of all, I am amazed of what a great track you made, guys. This kind of reminds me to the track that Madlab released a month ago, right? On NoFace.
Yeah.
Like a Skrillex style. That was really, really awesome. And I think this is going through the same path. Also, I would like to add, you should take a listen, to the Rephonics remix on Closer by the Chainsmokers. In that track, they have something similar like you. I say similar because the first drop is dubstep, but then the second drop is drum and bass, and then it finishes with a, how can I say it, with something soft dubstep. So I think that track could be a great reference when it comes to doing the switch ups and also with drum selection. That can be a really nice reference.
Yeah, and also, guys, something that we started doing, like for example, every time I'm trying to learn a new genre or try to understand what the drums are doing or the elements are doing, we started using the, what is that thing called? The vocal separator,
Vocalremover.org.
vocalremover.org. One of the best ones I found. I know they have like the la la whatever, but that one is like $40 a month.
Yeah.
Vocalremover.org, really good. You can donate whatever you feel comfortable donating. We have absolutely zero to do with those guys. We're not trying to promote them or anything. It's just something that Marcus showed that I started using. And man, you could take, like if you're working on a similar record, drop that bitch in there and take a look at what they're doing with the bass lines, the drums, and even in many cases, even straight up like sample it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Great work, guys. I mean, phenomenal record. If you make this record fat, it could be a phenomenal record. Again, you don't need to fuck with any more melodic elements in there. You have plenty. You just have to really focus on your drum work. Drum work with these kind of records is absolute key. And I'm sure it's still rough or whatnot, but I'm sure you guys will get there. So without further ado, we got Django back with another one. Hey guys, hope everything is going well with you. I started this ID this Monday and it ended up like this. Wanted to know your thoughts on it. Really calm one. I don't know what genre it is, not gonna lie, but I hope you like it. Well,
Okay.
Let's check it out.
feliz, estoy súper feliz porque en verdad, wow, ay, cuando me dieron la nota final, increíble, creo que se me quitó un peso enorme de encima, fue como, no puede ser, al final no me caí, no perdí la batería, fue demasiado increíble.
Sick record, sick record. What's it called? It's funny you have it in Spanish, but it's an Asian girl in the picture. What's it called? Well, first of all, you're gonna have to work on your drum patterns probably. I would say that this could even be a drum and bass record if you do it right. And Marcus mentioned something that like in this area. By the way, you can turn this just a bit so when I'm playing it back, I can hear what I'm doing. Like in this second part right here, you can probably bring in some super soft little percussion elements and stuff like that, just to kind of introduce a bit of the rhythm. And then I would probably redo the drum patterns and stuff on the drop in general, but I'm gonna give you a couple of mixing advices. First of all, you notice here on the drop on the okay, so what do you hear there? You hear all the top end from the kick and an insane amount of top end from the pads, of course. So a lot of you guys are, I don't know why, but a lot of you guys are afraid to high cut your kicks. Like I've noticed, like once you put in the kick, most producers just leave it like that. I almost always high cut my kick to a certain degree depending on what elements I'm using. Now, if the track doesn't require it and it's very minimal, then that's not really important. But in a case of these kind of records, you want a soft kick that it's a support system on your pads essentially. So you want to low cut that kick. I would even pitch it down a couple of steps and then low cut it and then probably control your decay. That way you can really finesse your bass line together with the kick pattern that you're doing rhythmically and stuff like that. And the other thing that I was gonna say with these like super heavy saw wave drops and leads and all that stuff that you're doing, I would probably I have like a Skrillex trick. Like I know when you guys are side chaining, a lot of times it's like you're just slapping, you know, your typical LFOs or Nicky Romero's sidekick and whatnot. But why don't you get creative with it sometimes and create volume envelope automations depending on which hit comes in? Because if you're just pumping it kind of sounds not so organic. So one way to do it is not be lazy, for example, and actually use a proper compressor for side chaining on these kind of records. I would never use an LFO tool on these bass tracks. I would use a compressor to trigger it exactly how it needs to be. And on top of it, when your kick comes in, what Skrillex likes to do a lot of times, because he has really short, knocky kicks a lot of times, he literally deletes the entire bass and like low end in that particular region, sometimes even the lead, where when it comes in, it's like, pa, and it comes right back in. You don't really notice it, but it sounds like a really drastic side chain, but it's actually not a side chain. He's literally removing all the frequencies in that kick hit right there. And then other than that, of course, I mean, this sounds really cinematic depending on how you want to do it, or arrangement-wise, I guess you can get really creative with it in that sense.
Amen. Well, Django, really, really nice track. I really love the intro. And just like Max said, in this region, I would advise to put some subtle trap drums, just subtle to make it into.
Like a soft kick.
Yeah, exactly. Something soft.
And the pattern here, see if you high cut that kick and it came in like that before all the other percussions come in, it would be sexy, because right now you can hear how knocky that drum is, and you don't need it to be knocky like that. You need it to be just supporting that pad where they're almost like making love to each other essentially.
Right. But other than that, good work, Django. Good work.
Yeah, I like that vocal
Keep submitting.
outro.
Keep submitting. Please fix that track and send it to the feedback email, okay? So we can give you further feedback. Okay, and now we have our brother Dev. Hey bro, hope you're doing well. I couldn't seem to figure out which notes don't fit well from the last feedback on this one. Although when I tried to fix the note, they took away the drop and energy of the drop. Okay, let's listen to it.
Out.
You and I were more than just a fantasy. You and I were made to play the part. The world can cave in and no one can pretend. You know, you know, you know that you and I were more than just a tragedy. You and I were suicidal art. The world can cave in and no one can pretend. You know, you know, you know that I still dream about you in the morning and the night. No, no, I can't be without you. You're living on my mind. And I still dream about you in the morning and the night. No, I can't be without you. You're living on my mind. You're living on my mind.
There you go.
Yeah, put it down a little bit. Not down, yeah.
No, like
Yeah, 75. Like
this. No, it's
Yeah?
like that because the guys were telling me that they were
Oh,
listening to us.
okay. All right, cool. Yeah, we'll just move the mic when we're talking closer and stuff. Okay, so first of all, it sounds like it doesn't. I don't know if you changed it or not, but it doesn't sound like it's clashing on that changing note anymore as much. So that's good. What I would suggest, like, here's a couple of things that I would say. For example, if you play the track right here.
But you and I,
So right there, you probably want to filter it just like you did it on the breakdown. mainly, I know, because I do that a lot myself, is like when I have like a fat lead that I created, the first thing that I want to do is basically blast it together with the hook. But you have to understand something, is that her vocal range is so large that when you have like a really fat lead like that coming in, you have to compensate one or the other. You either have to duck the vocals and filter them back up for an interesting effect, or you duck the leads and you introduce it like that, essentially. And then the other thing that I was gonna say is that for the second push right here, right there, boom. We're introducing a new story right there. So we're having a verse. So boom, you gotta duck that lead right away. And I would even, what I do is I do a bass flip, because you have your bass line that's going. I would actually change the bass line and not make it so ducky. Let me show you. I want to hear like a Reese bass type of a long note bass line together with that lead. And in that case, what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to work a lot on your percussions. And listen to because the thing is, you have two ways to do this record. You have that bass where it's kind of going woo, 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 woo. So you have to either do it like Kreider style, where your bass line is following the lead, where it's like right in the low register. And if you're not doing that, I would suggest that you do a sexy Reese bass line that really fills up the whole spectrum, essentially. And then you're gonna have to work on your percussions to make sure that the whole mix sounds really big. Because like right now, for example, you have like a really big lead and your drums are practically like hidden somewhere underneath. So I think for these kind of records, especially with vocals, I would say like Medusa probably is like the best, the best kind of go-to to take a look and see what they're doing, essentially. And then again, going back to the separations of the stems, as soon as we advise you guys to, for example, take a certain direction on a record, you quickly go in, you strip those stems and take a look at what they're doing. And also a lot of times is like that lead that you have, again, going back to what we're always saying, we're like, oh, the lead sounds so fat, I have to boost it. You have way too many frequencies on that lead. And I'm not talking about the high end. The high end sounds really good. You need to shave it even more on the low end, bring it down a bit, and fill that area with that fat Reese bass. And then get the right kick in there, and it's gonna really fill things up. And then on the percussions, you don't wanna have too many, obviously. Like you don't want to have a snare on these kind of records unless it's on a second push, because a snare normally slows it down a lot. So you want to do a kick that's pumping, then a hat, right? And then you can bring in a snare, maybe like when a vocal comes in or like the verse comes in or whatnot. But you actually finesse the breakdown really good. I like the automations and everything that you did on the breakdowns. But you gotta just fill up the spectrum with the right bass line also, because I feel like you wanna have not like the perfect example, but check out my Led Zeppelin remix. It's on SoundCloud. On my SoundCloud, you can hear what I'm talking about with the Reese bass. It really fills in the track. If you kind of go in that direction, I think you could do something really cool. But it's all about finessing. These kind of melodic records are not easy, I'll tell you that for sure.
Well, just to finish, I would like to say that I agree on everything that Max said. You need to feel more your frequency spectrum, and the idea about the wrist bass is really, really perfect. And also, I like the way that you're being really careful with your elements, because look, throughout the entire track, you are having like one main element. Sometimes it's the lead, and then when the vocal comes, the lead needs to chill out because you cannot have two main characters, as a way of saying it, playing at the same time. So it's first the lead, and then the lead vocal. Okay, so good job, Dev. Work this track, and then please send it to the feedback email so we can follow up on this track. Okay.
And then
Really
also another thing I wanted to add, guys. Again, this simple example. If I was mixing this record, and you don't want me to touch your kick because you love your kick, fucking pitch it down. Pitch the kick down, high cut it, control the release, of course. If you're using Ableton, Impulse is great for that because you can high cut the kick, you can pitch it down, and you can control your release envelope to compensate your bass line. Because a lot of the times you guys put a kick that you like using, and then you're kind of building a record and you're always trying to fight elements, not understanding what's going on. Go in there once you have, don't tune your kicks necessarily until you have certain frequencies already, like melodies and stuff like that. But as soon as you loop that with a bass, bring that fucking kick down. Because the thing is, every kick hits in a different register. Like for example, some guys say, oh, I have my perfect kick and I use it for every track. Okay, does that mean that you make every track in the same key? Because if that's the case, that's fine. But if you're working in like a B minor versus like a D, you know, that's a completely different frequency spectrum where your bass line sits. So if your bass line is hitting at like 55 hertz and your kick is knocking at 55 hertz, you gotta shift that kick down. If you don't shift that kick down by a couple of steps, you're gonna have clashing frequencies. So you pitch it down or you pitch it up. If you're doing more like trappy stuff, you're gonna probably wanna have your kick above the sub, except you're gonna have to really lower your release. And also like bass house records or like bass tech records, when you guys hear a lot of these like super fat bass lines, most of the time the bass sits underneath and the kick is pitched up just above the bass line with the release compensation all the way down, where if you were to actually solo the kick, it's like fat, but it's like poop, poop, like really fat but really short, right? And then the same goes for melodic house. You're gonna, in melodic records and in progressive records, you're gonna want your kick sitting below the bass line. So what you're gonna be doing is you're making the bass, the kick really deep but very short, and the tail of the sub is gonna sit underneath the kick, but the body of the bass itself is gonna sit above the kick attack. That's really important. And then also, when you have your bass line and you're playing your kick, that's the best way to solo it and to control the high end of the kick, because you're listening to it, when you play it together, you're like, okay, it sounds fine. But if you solo your kick and your bass, and you hear that the bass is doing one thing and then the kick is just knocking for no apparent reason, you want to shave that high end, filtering it out or EQing it to compensate the dynamics of the two so they kind of mold together better. And of course, compress them together.
All right, let's go to our next submission. Ooh, another remix. Max Vangelis Skin Low Flyer remix. Whip. Hey Max, we started a remix for your song Skin. We haven't beefed up of the transitions much, and it's not mixed and mastered. Just wanted to see what you think so far to, of course, make adjustments.
All right, let's check it out.
If you wanna be intertwined with me, down, down, down. If you wanna see better, count to 3. wanna be intertwined with me, down, down, down. If you wanna see, better count to three. Hold the master key, down, down, down.
Okay, great remix. Okay, first of all, I wanna pinpoint something that we've been talking about. Here, you can hear that the kick is. I don't know if the kick was necessarily high cut, but you can hear that the high frequencies are not there on this particular sample, so it molds better with the track. And then the other thing is something, because this is like a Reese bass kind of a situation. So this is another example that I wanted to tell you guys about. If you guys are going for a Reese bass type of movement on the low end, then first of all, I'd probably make it more plucky and not do it as like Reese bassy on the low register. But if you do want to do it like that, you guys have to remember, when I'm making Reese bass lines, there's always two channels. There's the low, and then there's the mid and the high. So if you loop this and listen to it properly, you can hear that there's an immense amount of frequencies missing between the mids, the lows and the vocals, right? So there's no mids to fill it in, since there's not really any leads or anything like that other than a couple of elements here and there. So it's a trick that I always do when I use Reese bass lines. First of all, most Reese bass lines are super soaked in all sorts of different effects. So when you're doing it in the low register, I always put the Reese bass in mono and high cut it. And then I create that big pocket in between, probably like maybe 250 to 1,000 hertz, where you really feel that Reese. And then where the vocal is, you dip the Reese, and then you have some high-end frequencies on the Reese register, essentially. And then the other thing is that I would probably say, since this is more of like a melodic record, I'd probably do something different with the percussions and not just go straight, because it kind of really takes away. It almost kind of sounds like a mashup or of some sort. So I would definitely look into that. And then the other trick that I want to tell you is that right here, right before the drop right here, right? So you're gonna do a kick pattern, or some sort of, you need some kind of like an impact, right? You can do it with a kick. You can I'd probably do it with the kick there. You don't need to do anything.
You wanna be intertwined with me, down, down, down.
And then probably you're gonna go and then keep it sexy, no percussions, and then maybe some kind of a fill, and then you go into the percussive elements, essentially. So here, the main things that you need to focus on is filling up that real. If I were you, I would make the bass plucky, and then in the mid range, fill it in with you know what I mean? Those sharp sawtooth wave bass lines that you can easily create using Serum. You know, just one oscillator with a sub added to it. A bit of like maybe envelope filter automation, just so it creates like open close, like a little bit of a movement together with a little side chain. And the other thing is that on plucky bass lines, when you guys are, again, like if you're gonna use Nicky Romero's sidechain tool, don't sidechain the whole fucking frequency range. Sidechain only like, 150 and below. That way you can get that stab coming in, because a lot of times you guys just slap a sidechain on the full bass line and it completely ducks some of the dynamic frequencies that are needing to come in for that dance aspect, essentially.
Right. Well, Low Flyers, good track, good track. I only have two more additions to what Max already said. In terms of the feedback he gave about the pre-top feel for the second drop, before the second drop, sorry, there's a good track that can be a good reference, and this one is Sid and Will K called O. It's like four O's and then an H, O. They have a really nice feel with some kicks filtered in a good way before the drop. So instead of having these crazy drum fills, they only have some subtle kicks and then boom, it all starts. And about the percussions, I would like to point out the hats. I feel like the hats you have right now doesn't work that well in this track. I feel you should try to use closed hats, something
Or shakers, those kind of things.
yeah.
And then also, if you, again, going back to my Led Zeppelin remix, I have bongos in there, but what a lot of guys like to do, they find a bongo loop and it just runs throughout the tracks. But it's literally paka, pa, paka, pa. You know, you wanna, like, all of you guys need to start learning how to finesse those. Like, you find a loop and then you take a couple of snippets from it that you like rhythmically and really look at it and listen to it on the loop and be like, okay, what, like your bass lines goes boom, boom, like right there it's like paka, boom, boom, paka, boom. You know what I mean? Like rhythmically listen to it. And I always, I was in a studio with a guy actually a long time ago, and he told me that the best way to really kind of understand drum work, and I know it doesn't necessarily apply directly to dance music, but put yourself in the shoes of a drummer. Like if you're a drummer and you got 2 feet, 2 hands, and then you can, you know, you can do the double bass, right? Really good drummers can do double bass where they go pa-pa, pa-pa, like those are your kicks, right? But with your hands, like a drummer can't do hats and then bongos and all that stuff. So it creates an organic feel where it's never too much, right? It's never too much. He even like, for example, removing sometimes hats when certain little fills and things come in, and just think of yourself as a drummer, like the natural flow of things.
Right, and that helps you to have a cleaner sound, because we notice guys that, let's say for example, every 8 bars they have a fill, but they have a synth fill, a drum fill, and at the same time they have playing some claps, some hats. It's a mess. So what's better, having that and making feel, oh, I have too many sounds, it sounds fat? No, it's better to clean everything and prioritize. Maybe you want to have in those 2 hits a synth fill, they have the synth fill, and then they have of the drum fill. So you have something different, and something related to Max, what he's saying. So you have him playing the synth fill, drum fill, and then bam, you come back with your kick, bass, and the rest of the elements.
Yeah, and then also the ear candy stuff that a lot of guys forget, like small little reverse crashes. And then sometimes when you go, if you want to go like an open hat, start practicing like on these kind of records. If you have a shaker going, and then you got the hat, like you have the hat, but sometimes go like do a closed one, right? Do a closed one like the drummers where they go open, open, you know, like one of those. Like that creates variation, because when you hear like a hi-hat loop that's going throughout the track, it kind of gets boring sometimes. And then again, fills every 8 to 16 bars, doing something creative there and all of that stuff, just like little ear candy. And again, guys, like I said, we're gonna start diving into more in-depth kind of feedback for you guys, so you guys can really kind of use this to your advantage. And also don't forget, since these are being filmed, and you can go back and take a look at what we talked about and really apply it to your work, it's gonna really be a game changer.
Exactly, guys. So take advantage of all the perks you have with us, sorry, on the NoFace Academy. So you already have the in-depth feedback, work on it, and then you can send it to the feedback email so we can give you a follow-up. And if you want, you can send it again for the next live stream.
Okay, guys, so we have, oh, again, by the way, I know that we don't have that many demos is because we decided to send you guys a reminder early in the week, and I know a lot of you guys are used to getting emails a couple of days, so we're gonna send you 2 emails just so you can remember
Exactly.
to submit. But last but not least, let's check out our boy
Yeah.
Bad Santa with a new ID.
Here we go.
No, you gotta turn to this thought. Yeah. Really great record. I think I heard this one already.
Yeah, we did.
Because we're special like that, of course. Okay, so I'm gonna dive right into the feedback. Okay, so you have the string and the vocals and the bass, where the high registers are sitting in some of the same frequencies. Like for example, when the bass line comes in, I can hear the pa 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 pa, and the reason why it starts distorting there is because your high register of the piano is sitting in the same register as the bass line. So I would low cut the bass and low cut the pianos in general, because the pianos are a little too hot in general. And for those kind of records, like especially when the drop comes in, if you listen to that track, what is that famous one? Route 94, I think.
My love.
My Love, yeah. When the drop comes in, listen to how they duck the pianos and bring up that Reese bass, right? Where it makes it super sexy. And your rhythm here needs to be created with the kick, because you have the bass line. And I want to hear the pa 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 right on the kick. Pa pa pa.
Right.
Pa pa pa. And that's going to create a lot of movement. So what I would do is I would even mute all of my percussions. Literally, I would mute all of my percussions, and I would focus on the kick, high cut it a little bit to make sure that it's nice and deep, maybe even pitch it down, depending on the register. I don't know yet. I would have to listen to it, but I'd probably make that kick really deep and really short, because if you're doing the pa pa pa, you don't want to have like a long release, obviously. So playing. I really like the register of your Reese right here, though. It sounds really So, like for example, right there, if you want to have a brighter piano in the build up like that, where it's really really bright, when it drops, you duck it and you create all of that fatness from the reference that I was talking about, Route 94, My Love. Of course, that's a little bit of a deeper record, but that's the kind of stuff that you want to work on. And don't even touch the hats and percussions until that whole groove is just fucking perfect. And I think you have because I know I said some vocal ideas. I also said to, like, for example, I told Giannis that whenever I hear these kind of records where you have like a really low male tone that is pitched down, if you find like soulful shots, like, right, like those kind of like upper registers, because that's what Route 94 did, right, on the drop.
Yeah.
And then everything else is super low. So the contrast is incredible. So I don't mind the piano maybe being so open on the breakdown, even though I would probably filter it in a bit. And then when it comes in, it's all right here. And then it just compensates with the or some shit like that, essentially.
Well, I don't have anything else to say more than great track, my brother. Something different. You have brought us some hard bangers, like for example the Who Knows remix, which is a drum and bass track, and this one is really special as well. I agree with everything that Max has said. Focus on the groove, on your piano, on your vocal, and then you start working on your drums. You know, in this case, I feel the drums, the hats, percussion, and stuff are secondary. But overall, great track, my brother.
And then also, before I forget, to add one more thing, in this section right here, that flip, it's something is messing with my head because it's coming in. It's like rhythmically da da da, and then it goes pa pa. The drums there need to be. I would probably add, instead of doing those kind of drums, I would add like a really nice shaker, maybe like in the build up there. I don't know if I would add that particular rhythm because for some reason that flip kind of messes with my groove. But listen to, I'm telling you, Route 94, really good example. And there, for those of you guys that had some Reese bass ideas here, go check out that record. It's a really good example.
Actually, Yanis, Max reminded me of a remix from My Love. It's a remix from Ben Dogs. It's like almost the same track, but a bit harder, something similar like yours. Ben Dogs remix is like Fisher House, but going really hard with the piano. So I think that remix is gonna be a really nice example for your track.
Great, yeah, awesome. And again, guys, like I said, we're gonna be going a little bit deeper with the feedbacks for you, so it could really, you can really finesse these records. You know, obviously me, Marcus, Giannis, and Tivo, you know, we sit here all day listening to promos, demos all day long, so we really have a good understanding of where things are going and how things need to sound. So just follow some of these tips and tricks. And again, all of these are applicable to all of your records, not just because you submitted one demo, it's sounding in one way or another way. Once you have a clear understanding of those dynamic flips and changes, you're going to become a much better producer. Because what I noticed is the reason why a lot of you guys have so much high end on your drops is because you're not DJing as much, right? So you don't know the impact that the low end creates, because when you're sitting there on your 4-inch or 5-inch speakers in your studio, your only energy is coming from the high end. But when you play this shit in the club, you're gonna realize what a disaster it creates because there's no bottom end because of the high end swallowing up the entire mix. That's why when you're making records, it's always advisable to shave everything above, 8K, 9K, and let the leads and let certain shots or strings carry that weight. And what I like to do now is if I have 3 melodic elements, I would literally loop them: piano, bass, and pad or whatever, or the vocal you have, and take a look at on the frequency range where the frequencies are sitting. Because if there's a hot frequency at, let's say, 5K coming from your top end bass line, coming from your pianos, from your vocals, and certain percussions or whatnot, they're not needed. It's kind of like you're trying to fill up like for example, if you have a hat that is sitting in a certain frequency range and that's your main element, instead of trying to compensate it with some other high end, layer that same hat in that same exact hit where it compensates it, where it takes a bit of the 4K, a bit of the 6K or whatever that you're going for, or 5K range, instead of slapping another loop because you feel like your high end is not there. High end, just like the bass line, all you need is a and that's it. And you can have like a kick going for like 4 bars and nothing really matters, essentially. So with that being said, guys, don't forget that every Friday we're doing Discords now. Starting next week, be sure to follow the NoFace Academy Instagram page and all the socials, because we're going to be posting tutorials on the daily from me, Giannis, and Marcus.
Oh yeah.
And the good news is that Giannis is obviously on FL. We're on Ableton, so we'll be able to kind of cover all of those fields together so you guys can learn and elevate. We've shot a couple of really cool pieces of content today. And then also next week, we are going to start dropping long form YouTube videos for you guys as well. And the first one is going to be dropping next week that we shot with Marcus. It's going to be a long tutorial on how to make your drums knock, how to make them fat. So definitely be sure to follow along. And then also another thing that we're launching is our newsletter, which is going to update you guys on all the new stuff that we're doing. So if you've missed a video, or if you missed some kind of an important discussion or a webinar, once we launch those, we will be updating you on those as well. Our goal this year is to make the #1 academy in the world, with really focusing on feedback and production, and focus on the producers more and more. And instead of just we'll let you guys decide if the tracks are fat. Of course, everybody has different styles that they like, but the most important thing is that you guys make them sound good. Because any genre, if you think about it, there are no rules in any genre. The only rule that exists is mixing. If you can't finesse the mix and you can't properly place things where they belong, I mean, I know that there's a theory that a greatest record doesn't need to sound perfect. I mean, if you want to play that lottery, I highly doubt that you're going to be successful. So it's better to become a great producer first, and then finesse your melodic aspects as you grow as a producer and develop your sound and stuff. But really start from the bottom. Really get your drums. Get the drum work is absolutely essential. I would say probably the most important thing in dance music is your drums and your bass line. If you can figure that out, you're gonna do great. You're gonna do great. And then don't forget to let us know in general what you guys want to learn, what else you want to do and whatnot, because we will be doing a lot of these, and hopefully you enjoyed it.
Right. And lastly, a reminder to all the NoFace Academy members: one of your main perks is 24/7 feedback, okay? And feedback is gonna help you to grow really, really fast. So whenever you finish a track, send it to us. Send it to us. You have the weekly demo drops. You have the 24/7 feedback via email. So take advantage of us, because time is our most valuable asset. So the longer you work without mentoring, you will take longer to finish the records and pop off. So take advantage of everything. If you have any questions, you know where to hit us up. We have Marcus at NoFaceRecords.com and Academy at NoFaceRecords.com. If you're not a NoFace Academy member yet, you can visit us at NoFaceRecords.com and you can try 7 days for free at our academy.
And I'm going to give you one more tip before we go, something that I learned from Steve Angelo and the Swedish House Mafia. I did that a lot. And I think that trick was also applied on Calling, Alesso's record, and a lot of other ones. I think even maybe Don't You Worry Child. I don't remember which ones, but what they like to do is they finish a record and then they'll throw it in a DAW and they would literally pitch it down or up to see what gives them that emotion, right? Because I think that if I'm not wrong, and I don't want to say 100%, but I'm pretty sure it was Calling, it was initially in a different key, and when they pitched it to either down or up, I don't remember which way they went, it created a completely different vibe from a record. And that's something that a lot of you guys are missing out a lot, is that like you start on a record. Now, if you're working on a remix, obviously you're locked in on that particular key. But a lot of times, like those elements, if you pitch the whole track down, it's going to be a completely different vibe and you're going to be like, wow. Now, I don't advise you to obviously pitch it down and release it like that. What you're going to want to do once you do the test is go back and recalibrate all of your elements to make them snap, because sometimes you might want to bring the pianos down 3 steps, but your percussions can stay in the same register, and vice versa. So start using that trick. It's an incredible trick, and it might actually take a record that sounded pretty good to sounding great. Because if you made a record in like a B and you realize that your bass line sucks, and then you pitch it down 3 steps and you're like, holy shit, this is perfect, you can go back in and change it without sitting there in the project itself trying to figure out what's wrong with it.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Okay, guys, enjoy your Sunday. Thank you for joining us. Again, we're going to get better and better at these. Dev, no problem. We see you here. We gave you great feedback, so be sure to check out the video. And again, let us know in the comment sections anything else you guys want us to talk about in general. And we will see you on Friday at the Discord.
Yes.
We're going to probably do some feedbacks there. We're going to do some cool things. We're going to give more tips and tricks on how to make your music better. And like I always say, keep producing and keep evolving, and let's keep killing it, guys.
Bye, guys.